Sound. Beautiful. Thank you guys so much for coming on this journey with me. This is a preview of what September 26th is.
Come from, no one knows, but we do know a lot about everything though. So many different crossroads, but the paths look the same. Like it could have gone different, but it went this way. Like a hopscotch game of infinite time. Every time we move forward, there could have been 9 parallel dimensions, but it's all in the past. What came when life first appeared on this planet? It depends who you ask. Because if you ask an evolutionary biologist, she'll tell you that Mother Earth only ke kumulipo during her labor. O kalipo kala, o kalipo kapo po vale hoi. And when she was ready to push, the moon pulled with one last tug on her womb. And as the embryonic waters rushed forth, they contained a single cell, like a single note, floating over the bass drum rumblings of the night. It was a bacteria, a slime, nourishing and nursing the nutrients of her fluids, an infinitesimal infant, unconscious of its existence, persistent in its will to survive. And as night turned into day and day turned into night, it grew too big for its limits. And with a quick twitch, it split into 2, giving birth to an identical twin. And they thrived and reproduced to produce more children. And they thrived and reproduced exponentially, like a cascade of ripples scattering throughout the sea. Over a billion days and nights, they thrived and reproduced until an entire tapestry was woven. Generations of descendants dispersed through her waters, and over time, after endless days and nights, after trillions of beats had come and gone, had echoed into the darkness, one of our single-celled notes made a mistake when it replicated. Gave birth to a strange sound with mutated genes, different from anything that had ever been heard before. It was an archaea, a cell at a different frequency, able to survive the harshest of environments, and it thrived and reproduced. And they thrived and reproduced, and they spread, scattering in, on, and around Mother Earth. They thrived and reproduced, while the bass beat continued near her womb. And we stayed that way for millions of years. Trillions upon trillions of beats come and gone until one day, one of our single-celled notes made another mistake, gave birth to another mutation that was profoundly different. A bacteria that came out photosynthetic, able to catch the sun's rays for sustenance. It played at the surface of the water each day, became independent, it went off the grid, held the blueprint for chlorophyll. Like a mistake played beautiful. It was like, it was like jazz, man. And it thrived and reproduced, and they thrived and reproduced, filled the world with oxygen, they thrived and reproduced, spread through Mother Earth's oceans, they thrived and reproduced, alongside bacteria and archaea. And we stayed that way for over 1 billion years, echoing into the cosmos, shaping the atmosphere, laying the foundation for our future. And then something really, really interesting happened. And we're not quite sure how, but we have our hypotheses. Somehow, some way, an archaea ate a bacteria without actually eating it. And this bacteria lived inside, and together they thrived symbiotic, like how lovers come together to make each other better, entwined in each other's essence through the night. It seems an archaea ended up with the bacteria in its gut, but they became one entity, exchanging genes. Thus a new form of life plucked itself into existence. And this new sound was organized with a nucleus for its DNA, which meant that we now had a dedicated space for our genes. Our own little laboratory for genetic transfer and mutation, which is a fancy way of saying that this whole entire thing was about to get insane. The first thing we did was to get multifaceted, arranging ourselves into multicellular life forms, multiple cells that acted as one, like how many brushstrokes combine colors and textures to create a singular masterpiece. Like how billions of tiny water drops that combine to make one cumulus cloud, and some of us stayed that way. Evolved into the mold and fungi we see today, and others of us went symbiotic with the photosynthetic bacteria. Evolved the seaweed plants and trees that allow us to breathe, but the rest of us, we broke off from the chain. Went a new direction with our multicellular lineage. Mutated into simple animals who gained the power of digestion, who could eat the energy of other living organisms to thrive and reproduce, and some of us stayed that way. Evolved into the coral polyps, worms, and starfish we see today, and others of us grew exoskeletons for structure and protection. Evolved to the crustaceans and insects with mind-blowing diversity, but the rest of us, we broke off from the chain. Went a new direction with our animal lineage. Mutated spines on our insides, then developed into creatures who could swim long distances or change directions. We began to take greater control over our own lives. Learned to swim against the current when we needed to. Grew brains and eyes, learned how to hunt and avoid being hunted, and some of us stayed that way. Evolved into the fish, sharks, and rays we see today, but the rest of us, we broke off from the chain. A new direction with our vertebrate lineage. Mutated lungs and limbs into our DNA so we can take our first gasps of air, explore land for part of our lives, take our first steps toward a new frontier, and some of us stayed that way. Evolve into the